sometimes we catch people and we talk to them for 20 minutes. First time we've ever talked to them, it's like coming in through CINC, Google PPC, Facebook lead ad, and we convert them. And it's like, how the hell? And I'm like, you just talk to people. Just talk to people. Stop trying to close them and just listen. And I think that is so key in converting long term. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a nice, sunny, snowy, rainy day, whatever that looks like for you. We've got Jeff. I'm always excited to talk to CINC because I learned something. I think I take the most notes when I talk to anyone at CINC, Jeff. And then we take the notes and then we make our own graphics. And obviously we give credit to CINC. But it's exciting to talk to you, man.
No, that's great. Yeah. And we love the data.
I love the data.
You love the data.
I love the data,
We're on
man.
the same page.
I love the data. So Jeff, for those of you who don't know, works at CINC. He's the head of product or VP product. He comes from CARFAX. And he was, I think, head of product there. Was that right? Did I get that?
Yeah, for the used car listing product.
That's pretty cool, man. Bringing you into real estate.
It's not my first go around in real estate, actually. So I've been in, so I've worked at Market Leader / when it was owned by Trulia back in the day.
I remember that.
And then for another company, Altisource, which is in the real estate space, and we were creating a brokerage under the owners.com brand. So I was there helping them with the digital brokerage for about 5 years.
Cool, man. Well, nice to have you back. Let's talk about lead quality. What do you got for us?
Great. Yeah. So I shared some metrics with you last time. And so I can kind of bring you up to speed on how things have changed since the last time we talked. And then I want to chat a little bit about the testing we've been doing on lead verification as well, which is a topic that will be near and dear, I think, to our clients and other agents' hearts as we look at, hey, how can we get more leads that are providing correct contact information when you're dealing with like these registration type internet leads.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to jump in. We looked at this last time to start with. This shows, this is the NAR data on existing home sales rate. And we can see, I think we talked in September and we were on this downward, trend. Last year was not a good year for transactions, worst year since 1995. And hopefully this is the sign here at the end of the year from October to December that things are bottoming out, leveling off, and we can expect to see some gains. So we're looking at how this kind of correlates with the data we're seeing in terms of user engagement across the CINC websites and what some of those maybe early indicators are of trends that will portend of the success that we'll have in 2024.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I still see us staying around the low fours for the next few months. I don't know that we're going to get to the fives by the end of the year, but it's tough, man. It's tough. But I like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously, I think I don't think we're going to see it lower.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
For sure. Getting back to the fives will be great. And we know that there is a lot of pent-up demand, so that the time will come when we see that spike. So it's a question of where that spike is going to come.
True.
So now we're dealing with this is seasonality too, with just the winter months usually being on the low side. And this is kind of the first thing that we're looking at here. So we looked at this last time. These are what we call the heartbeats. So these are the percentage of leads that are being generated across all CINC clients that are being updated to the contacted stage in the CRM. So how many leads agents are reaching and having that quality conversation with. So you're supposed to move it from new stage to contacted stage when you have that quality conversation. And so last year, so we can kind of look at this from last year. We ended up at about 17.5% And so we can see that there's some peaks in the beginning of the year. There's a lot of higher intent at that point. People are more likely to pick up the phone during the pre-spring season. And
Mhm.
then, things kind of leveled off. And then we had this dip in November and December. So getting
Mhm.
down close to 15%. We don't like to see it there, much prefer to see it around 20%, because this indicates that the leads themselves had less intent at this point. They were less willing to talk to an agent when they were being called.
Well, that makes sense at that time because the rates had skyrocketed in November and people
Yeah.
were freaking out, dude. But I have a question about February 23. What the hell happened there?
Yeah, it's interesting, this little outlier here. What actually happened was when we look at the other driver for this, it's the lead volume. And there was a big spike in leads across our network that month. And
Uh-huh.
so I think what happened is there was this flood. This only counts leads that graduated from new to contacted within a 30-day period. So some of these, the contact rate's going to be actually higher than this, but this just shows that immediate intent. And there
Uh-huh.
was a big increase in leads. So agents were being flooded with leads and probably had more than they could handle at that time. As a
Mm,
result, that denominator of lead volume was caused the rate of leads that went to contacted to be a little bit lower.
got it.
And
Got
then
it.
they caught up in March. So things got back on track.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
All right, man.
So if
This
there's a ton of leads that come in, that can also depress the number that actually make it to contacted, just because of the ability to make all those phone calls.
perfect.
So this, and we can see last year too, November, December is typically a little bit lower. People are busy, it's the holidays, they're less likely to be picking up the phone at that point. And then there's usually a bounce back in January. So we'll see in January if we get back to that 20% mark.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the leading indicators we're looking at um, are the number of inquiries that are coming in. So these are the leads that are submitting either a showing request or some type asking a question about a property on the
Mm-hmm.
site. And so this is the trend for last year. This initial spike in August was because of a product change. We made some improvements to the listing details page. And so we got a really big jump where we doubled the number of inquiries that were coming in. And then
Okay.
since then, we can kind of see more of what the market trend is. So in November and December, we had this decline. It flattened out on the number of inquiries. But January, we've got January data in now on this, where we
Mm-hmm.
can see that there was a nice increase and an upward trend from November in the number of leads that are saying, hey, I want to see this house, or I want to learn more about this house. So this should be a good
Yeah.
indicator that we should see an uptick in transactions and interest from buyers as well.
I definitely see that on our end, man. Google PPC, Facebook lead ads, that's the primary source for us when it comes to online leads. And we are having better conversations 100%. So yeah, makes sense.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. And the one other one to take a look at is favoriting. And so favorites is another good indicator of future transactions and future success. And we can see that there was a dip here in November, December, where buyers were favoriting fewer properties. That has bounced back in January. Actually, January is our highest number of property favorites since last August. So that's a great sign.
Mm.
And then the number of favorites per user who are favoriting properties has also progressed really nicely. So in
Wow.
January, there's a big jump up from that. That's kind of probably the highest we've seen in terms of buyers finding more listings that they're interested in too, which is another good sign. So that suggests that not only are they they're looking at more listings, they're finding more that they actually want to keep track of and that are potentially going to be once they see in person.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so good news there. And um, this is just our trend upon when we looked at showing requests and property inquiries. This expands it out a little bit further and looks at all the different types of inquiries that come in. We have our home pulse inquiries, which are the home seller inquiries. We have the AI agent ready inquiries where a lead is talking with the AI and then they ask to talk to the agent. And this shows that nice positive trend up to December as well, we'll have January's number on this next time. But we can see that there's been a really nice increase throughout the course of the year. Some of it's from product changes, but this trend here is more aligned with the market, where we're seeing a lift here of people being more engaged and asking for contact from agents more frequently across the board. So I think that's an indicator that we'll have a good start off to the year.
That's really good, man. Mary Jo brings up a good point. Jeff, I'm gonna
Sure,
pause you
yeah, jump in.
because she's saying, yeah, she's got requests to show properties, but when the team or her tries to reach out to them, they never answer back. And so I've got a great process for that because that does happen. It's normal. They ghost us. Sometimes they get busy. Who knows what's happening? I put up a link to a really short episode I had. It's like 6 minutes long that I shot. And it goes through the process of just doing a much better job on your part for improving your chances to connect after requests or getting an online lead and how to convert. So, Jeff, I tend to think because we've been doing this since 2007, online leads. I tend to gravitate towards the reason online leads don't work for you, not you, Jeff, but you, is because you haven't optimized your processes, your systems, your dialogue, your tonality, your approach. And once you've got that down, better and better and better, you'll see much better results. So,
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things here. And I've actually looked at, I've got some data to share on this. I'm going to just jump ahead about why they matter, and what the appointment rate looks like in comparison to a lead that hasn't submitted a property inquiry. But one thing to keep in mind is lots of times when somebody is submitting that, oh, I want more information, they might not necessarily be expecting to talk to a buyer's agent, meaning they're thinking, well, they're expressing interest, but they still have that defensive wall up. They're still like,
mhm.
well, I was hoping maybe it's just like somebody would send me something or something would magically happen on the website if I clicked this button. And so there is that skill, which is how do you get somebody to get off of that defensive mindset, build that rapport so that they open up. So it sounds like you've got some good content on that.
Oh yeah, dude, it's short, but here's the thing, I think we overemphasize the the script. It's like just throw the script out the door. Know that people aren't going to be interested in what you want to say until they know that you actually care about them and that you're not going to pressure them into doing things or talking about things they don't want to talk about. And I think the further you go away from that, the easier it is to talk to them. Jeff, we had a few Google PPC and Facebook lead ads. We call live on Thursdays, every
Mm.
Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific. And sometimes we catch people and we talk to them for 20 minutes. First time we've ever talked to them, it's like coming in through CINC, Google PPC, Facebook lead ad, and we convert them. And it's like, how the hell? And I'm like, you just talk to people. Just talk to people. Stop trying to close them and just listen. And I think that is so key in converting long term.
Yeah, that's the old school skill of just like being interested in them, wanting to get to know them,
Yeah.
building that trust.
Rosemary
Um,
says they say they clicked by accident. Rosemary, that is the number one response we get. Oh, we clicked by accident.
It's
Or
funny because like we
my
we've
son.
act
Yeah.
and we've looked at this. We've had clients say this to us, like, oh, we can actually go back and play back some of the sessions, and look and see, did that lead click by accident? And granted, of course, there's always some cases where they do, but in the majority, they clicked on purpose, but it's the easiest way to
Yeah.
avoid an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
And so it's like you moving past that, they registered on your website, they were looking at that property, they were scrolling that property and clicking on things in that property. Odds are there's something about that property that's interesting to them. And so how do you get past that, acknowledge it, and then find out what their motivation really was?
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, sometimes that's it. And sometimes just make them laugh. It's like, oh, you know what? I always accidentally click on things too. But now that I have you, and then they laugh. Right. Anyways.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah,
Like,
and I think the key is like be prepared for that. Don't get stuck on it.
yeah.
You've got someone on the phone who's interested in real estate, right? And that's half the battle. Um, and so one reason that's kind of come up too, on property inquiries, I took a look at our most recent data. So I looked at about 30,000 leads from July. So this is just in the last 6 months, and found that they were about the ones that submitted inquiries are about 2 times more likely to be contacted, getting them on the phone, but about 8 times more likely to convert to an appointment. So there is a lot more gold to be found when you're mining on those areas where there's inquiries. And
So,
so this section here, where we've got the request info form, it takes a lot of intent to fill out this form and hit
yeah.
submit. You got to click request info, kind of look at it and hit submit. And then the tour home, where you actually pick a date and then um, uh, send the request. Very difficult to do that by accident. So there's a lot of intent when you're completing it. Uh,
That's funny.
the one that's a little the one I actually had a question about. So we decided earlier in the year when we redesigned the listing details page to create these one-click calls to action on the screen. So I'll make that a little bit bigger, where just you can say, I want more info about this home with a single click, and it submits that inquiry. So this is
Mm.
the one I've been really curious about myself. Like, okay, is that going to be just noise? Is it going to create inquiries that don't matter? Or is it going to create quality conversations? And so this was really interesting to find out that in looking at those leads, these leads were about 7.7 times more likely to convert to an appointment than a lead that didn't
Wow.
the inquiry. So it was nearly as good, not quite as good, but nearly as good as folks who filled out that form. So even if there are some accidents in there, there's intent in there as well. And some clients are obviously having success at converting those to appointments.
Jeff, have you tried repositioning that button to a higher location? That simple button, like I want more info about this property.
Well, it's no, we haven't. We could experiment with that. This is sticky. This form is sticky, so it's very prominent on the page.
Yeah.
And so what we did is in every section, we added kind of a button that goes with that section and asks a question. Like there's questions about rates or mortgages or schools,
Hmm.
as you progress down the page.
Okay. Got it.
And then like one other one I was really curious about. So I just got this data for the first time. We started sending notifications to clients, to agents, when somebody fills out the mortgage calculator. So when somebody clicks this button, which says see your monthly payments, that means they have to put in some information there. And this isn't a true inquiry. This isn't somebody asking for anything. They're not saying, I want you to send me information. And we
Hmm.
don't label it that way. We just say, hey, somebody completed the calculator and here's the numbers they put in. But this still was a strong indicator of interest. And so the leads that use this calculator were 4 times more likely to convert to an appointment. So again, not as strong as an inquiry, but still a good indicator. And that's what we're really trying to do here is, this is a volume game. It's the leads are very inexpensive. And so it's about getting as many as you can. But
Hmm.
then how do you know which ones to really spend the most time with? And that's what we're trying to do is um, provide more guidance about which leads are most likely to convert so that you can invest more time calling those leads where you're going to have more success.
That's a good point because we filter them out. So in Sync, you can filter out who's favorited properties, and we typically start with who visited our website the latest. So we do a 24 hours back and start at the top, start dialing, right? And in the messenger here, I put in here, I'll put it again. That's the exact process we do with the sync leads, right? So that you have that boom, 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 done next, boom, 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 done next. And then we go 1-to-1. So we don't usually have like a triple dialer outside of sync or even a dialer in some cases. But the key is filter them out to identify which ones are the most ready. Did they favorite? Did they share? What did they do? And what are those actions? Jeff, what do you notice, man?
Well, that's what we are making changes in the product to make that process easier. We see our job as like, hey, we need to make the work less, as least amount of work as you can do to convert those appointments. And so that's oh yeah, just one follow-up to that. So these leads that have those inquiries, they represented in the 6 months about 8% of all the leads. So for all the leads the clients got, these were Google leads. 8% had inquiries, but they represented about 36% of the appointments. So it just goes to show that the small segment is you don't want to miss out on targeting this group, because the efforts you put in on this slice are going to generate a bigger piece of the pie when it comes to appointments.
So if they raise their hand, pay more attention to them. Make
For
an
sure. And that's why we did this Launchpad update, which you probably have seen now, which is on the agent Launchpad. We're now elevating those leads. So any inquiries that come in are put in this new section called Contact Requested, which shows the inquiry and what they asked for. And so you can keep track of it in that dashboard. And so that's new. We rolled that out in December. And then the app update is coming in the next 2 weeks. And so we're updating the agent app. The Launchpad page is being redesigned on that. So all of those inquiries are front and center. So you make sure that they don't slip through the cracks, and you don't forget to keep following up with those ones. Because if
That's
you don't,
probably where I would go first.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're trying to do, is like help you organize, in what order should you go after these leads. And so you've got contact requested, then you've got your, P1s, which are your new leads, the retries on leads, and then the active users. And then
Wait, Jeff,
mhm.
is that the order that you guys suggest? What you just
We are well, I don't want to speak for training, so
well, what do you
I know that we're suggesting the contact requested now.
Yeah,
So
outside of what they train on, what do you think is the order that, or what have you seen is typically best? What would you recommend?
well, new leads for me. So always contact requested, because that's someone who's pulling for something from you. And so you don't want those people to wait. That's where that speed to response is critically important, because now they're waiting for you.
Got
Of
it.
course, new leads.
Yeah.
You want to be, that person is online now. They are shopping, probably going to be on multiple real estate websites. And so being the first person to get them to have that conversation is great. Then I think I love the ones that are showing some type of engagement. They are someone who is, they registered before, but they're back on your site, they're favorite in listings. That's what we call the active leads. And I guess we probably say P3 is supposed to go next, but for those that are actually engaging, I think you got a better shot at converting those.
Would you put favorited listings above last visited?
Well, I mean, I'd have to look at the data, ultimately, to see. Last visited, if they were on your site today, there was a reason for that. But favorited properties and the number of favorites shows that, they're getting pretty serious. So I'd say call them both,
It's a close one. That's why I asked.
And our next update we're doing on this is about this. So what we're calling trending leads. And so this is just a sneak peek at the next enhancement we'll be making in the CRM. So we've got the contact requested section, which shows the ones that have made contact. And then trending leads are kind of like your hotter leads. They haven't specifically reached out and said, oh, I want to talk to you. And so this is just a mock-up, but we're capturing all of those behaviors which demonstrate that they're highly engaged. And so someone who's back on your website, someone who's coming to your site multiple times within a short time period, someone who's looking at the same listing over and over again, or shared a listing, someone who updates their saved search, favoriting multiple properties. So we have like a list of 20 different actions that we consider to be highly engaged. And we're creating like a running live dashboard where you can spot those things as they're happening. And so again, the intent is to help you look and say, not have to put a whole lot of thought into, well, who can I call that is going to be most likely to convert? But you can kind of progress through these steps. Well, let me call my contact requested. I'll call my new leads, but then I want to call my most highly engaged leads. They're going to be all listed here in real time.
I like that, man.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
This is really nice. Can you go through and explain really quick what the P stands for?
That's just stands for priority. These are filters that kind of come out of the box in the CINC CRM, where you can identify, P1 is your priority one, call now. Those are new leads. So these are different criteria. Call again is attempted are leads that within 30 days, you've already tried them once. You want to make sure you keep trying them within that first 30-day period. And then the P3s are your active leads that are they've logged into your site for some reason. They've done something on your site in the last 30 days. And so this then gets into more of a nitty-gritty and will help you understand what are they doing without having to go and look at all the lead details.
Got it. And when is this out for everyone?
The contact request is out already. This one should happen in the next couple of months. They're working on it right now. So it's the next thing that's up for our CRM team.
Got it. Sharon's got a question. She says, is there a way to get notified when someone favorites one property, or is it when they favorite three that we get notified? I don't know.
Right now, yeah, it's right. You can get notified when somebody triggers like a behavioral message. And so right now it takes more than one. I believe it's like you favorite 3 properties in 5 days or something like that, which creates the trigger. And so, hold on, I'm going to stand up because my light just went off. So, got it.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's movement triggered. So
If I sit here still too long, it just goes off on me. Yeah, we don't want to overwhelm people with too many notifications so that you get notification fatigue and then don't end up not taking action on anything. So we want to make sure it's something which rises to that level of needing action.
agreed.
So that is that. We
What
burned
else
through
you got
half
for
an
us?
hour already. I can't believe it. And so I do
Fast.
have content. If you want to keep going, I've got some content on
Yeah,
lead verification.
I'd love to let's keep going, man.
Since this is this is the next thing that's up, and we haven't really shared this information yet. So this will be the first time that people are seeing it. For the past couple of months, we've been testing a new experience, and I'm just going to jump past this here. We've been testing a new experience on the front end of the sites where a user, after they initially pass that registration screen, we send a text to them with a code.
Okay.
And we ask them to enter that code into the registration in order to unlock all of the content that's available on the listing details page. And so the intent here is to help you understand which leads have actually verified their number. Like, if somebody does that it's a phone number that belongs to them, and they got their phone on them. I mean, it's their phone because they had to actually enter that code into the site once the text was sent to them.
I love
And so
that.
we want to help identify in the CRM which ones we know 100% for sure are correct phone numbers that belong to that person. And provide some motivation for those that enter a bad phone number to correct it. And
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And so we've been testing different flavors of this to kind of try to get the right recipe, because the downside of it, of course, is if you're creating some barriers to the experience, if you don't put in a correct phone number, there's going to be some folks that are like, oh, I'm not going to do that, and so I'm out of here. And that's what we're trying to balance.
Yeah.
And so what happens there is if they don't verify, then there's certain content that we lock. Like, you can't see all the photos, which is the thing, of course, they're really after. And so if they get to this point, they can skip it, look at properties, look at searches, do a bunch of stuff, but we're only going to show them the first 3 photos. After that, if they want to see them all, now's their time to verify. And so that's kind of what we're trying to go after, is like, don't stop them from using the site. We want them to get listing alerts. We want them to come back to the site, but we want to keep this some type of motivation in there that will encourage them to give us their correct number in order to get the full experience.
I like some questions on this, Jeff.
Yeah,
First
by
of
the way.
all, there's a lot of people that are excited about this, so that's awesome. Is this happening now? How do we know?
We're going to be launching this in an early access in about 2 weeks. And so we'll be taking clients on an opt-in basis. And we're going to put out a message. We'll send it out in a pop-up on your, and we'll send out emails as well. So we're aiming for about February 19th to go live 100%. So we've been testing this just kind of
Oh,
behind
wow.
the scenes on a portion of traffic.
Okay.
And so we'll be taking clients. We want to make sure it's something that you're ready for and that you want to do and you're opting into it. So stay tuned. We will notify everybody in just a couple of weeks when it's ready to go.
Got it. Victoria says, how does this work with international numbers? Does it?
It works for Canada. I know that. And so I'll have to double check and see if it's somebody's coming from like a European number,
Yeah. England,
if it
France,
texts.
Spain.
I would expect that it would, but I'll double check and verify. It's a great question.
Got it. Rosemary makes a good comment. Sometimes it's only one number off and it was put in there by mistake. This is so true, Rosemary. We've noticed that as well.
Yeah, by mistake. Um, yeah, sometimes. Yeah, and I do see that
Yeah.
because I'm watching the user sessions where people are correcting their phone numbers now.
Yeah.
And it's true, like some people just typo it, right? They're on their mobile phone or whatever. And so it gives them that opportunity to correct it. And now in the CRM, we're creating this, blue check experience so that you can see as you go down your leads, which ones have verified and then are unlocking full access to the experience.
Yeah. And how do we get notified when people go through the verification? Is
It's
it a,
really just, yeah, it's just you'll see the difference everywhere where we show a lead, we'll show that they're a verified lead.
okay? And Jeff, here's an interesting uh comment, which I want to see how you respond because it's a real challenge, right? Burton says, sorry, bad idea. Don't need more barriers to keep people from registering. Look at Zillow. All the data, no registration at all. Like I've been having people register for years, but I want to see what your response is on that.
Yeah, so number one, this happens after they register. And so you're getting the lead regardless. Number two, you can, we're not forcing anyone to use it. You don't have to use it. But this is really, this game here of is about it's volume. It's generating as many registrations as you can. If any of your client, I'm always amazed in a way, but anyone can go to Zillow today and get access to everything for free. And yet, very consistently, they come to our clients' websites and they register.
Yeah.
And that gives you more long-term opportunities to convert them and to get them back on your site than leaving it wide open. I mean, it's great if you're doing like millions of dollars of national ad campaigns and you're building a brand so that you can get people back to your site, but we don't, the average agent doesn't have that luxury. And so getting that registration up front is really important in order to get that user to be retained. And sure, I mean, some are going to go away. They go away today because of the forced registration, but we found it to be super effective in both converting leads and getting folks to come back and getting them signed up for listing alerts. And there's a reason they're coming to these sites. I mean,
Yeah.
there's advantages to the agent websites that Zillow doesn't have. Zillow, uh, their search capabilities are for the masses. They're very generalized. Your sites being based upon the MLS data fields gives a lot more depth to what someone can search on that's very localized. And so there's reasons why people are coming to your sites and advantages for that person to register.
Yeah.
And
And
but
also,
this is what we're testing too. Like, I don't
yeah.
want to. This is really the big question. And can we verify these phone numbers without sacrificing engagement and success? Because it's 100% true. Like, The more you
Mhm.
put in front of that buyer as a barrier, the less, the more reasons you're giving that person to abandon. And anything we do, we test very, very thoroughly, because I'm not going to release anything that's going to hurt, right? And so we want to make sure that whatever's happening is going to be something which helps our clients. And there's a couple questions we have left on this. That's what I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Shoot.
So number one, the test is going very well. We're finding that uh, over 60% are verifying their phone number. And so in the experience, they are actually taking the time to receive and enter the code.
Mhm.
And we're testing on Google Leads. And then we're getting a lot of corrections too. About 7% are correcting their number. And so that elevates the lead quality. So not only can you see which leads we know for sure that phone number belongs to, but you're getting some corrections as well. And so overall, you're getting more folks that you can actually contact.
Mhm.
Um, and I had some examples to show. You're going to trade some engagement for improved contact information. And this is where that sort of friction is that we want to manage. So what we're seeing right now, there's going to be a drop in listing views. There's no way around it,
Yeah.
because there's some segment, in this case, 40% of people aren't verifying. So that 40%, they can't see all the photos.
Yeah.
But it's not a 40% drop. It's only a 7% drop.
That's good.
We're not seeing a decline in inquiries. In fact, it's up. I don't see any reason why this should be up. So I'm not expecting that, the longer we test that, to stay at that level. But it's not down. And so that suggests that those who are
Well, hold on, Jeff.
verifying. Hmm?
On that, man, I can tell you why.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to stay up. In fact, it might even go up higher. And that's because you're getting people in that want to use this. They're serious. Think of how a normal user goes on to, I don't know if you're familiar with Redfin, but I use
Oh
Redfin all.
yeah. 100%.
And
Love Redfin.
in order for me to favorite anything, I need to register. And there's no way in hell I'm going to register. So I just, send it to myself. And that's how I favorite things, right? So if I was a serious user, you better believe I'd have more property inquiries because I'm fully invested in this. I'm serious. I took the time to go through this whole process.
And
And so,
maybe they feel a little special because they've verified, and they're like, oh, I have now full access to this. But
yeah,
it does suggest that that group, which is verifying, is also the group that is most likely to stay engaged, that's most likely to stick
yep.
around and submit inquiries. Um,
That's it.
the cost, there's additional cost, especially for the length of the registration process. There's some folks that are bailing in registration. So we're seeing a drop in the number that answer all the questions. We asked all the questions: are you pre-qualified? Is this your first time you're buying a house? What's your time frame? All that stuff. And so you're trading some increased contact information for some folks that are apparently the ones that are less likely to transact, at least, that are not answering registration questions. And then the big drop we're going to have to manage and come up with another experience for is home pulse registrations, where we ask somebody to claim their home during the registration process.
Mm-hmm.
That's experiencing a decent drop. And I think the issue there is you only get like the clock is ticking on folks when they're doing registration. They're only going to stand for so much before they're like, this is too complicated. And
We're
so by
done.
having them verify their phone number, we're eating up some of that time, and they're not going to then do everything else that we're asking them to do in registration. So we have to kind of decide what's most important in registration to get. We think verifying phone number is really important,
Mhm.
and we can come back and get them to claim their property in other ways.
I love that. Is this feature something that can be turned off on the site so that we
Yeah,
don't
it's
have to
going
turn
to
it
be
on?
opt-in. Yeah. So again, no one, if you want to experiment with it and see how it works for you, that's great. And then, these are my questions. Like, we're seeing how it will change the consumer behavior. My question is, how will it change the agent's behavior? Are folks going to take the same approach to calling? Are you
Mm,
going to just, call all your leads? Are you going to call the verified ones more often because 100%, like, this person had their phone in their hand when they registered. So if they're not answering, I'm not giving up because I know they're there.
yeah.
Or are you going to have some agents that say, I only want to call the verified ones because it's
Mm,
a lot more fun to call knowing that I'm not going to get any Walmarts, pizza shops, police stations, anything else that people put in for their phone number or bad numbers. Um,
interesting.
and so, and, and I don't know the answer to this one yet. And so this is kind of the next phase as we get folks to start trying this out, is to see, what do agents do? And what does that ultimately result in? Are we going to see an increase in conversions and contacts and appointments? And what I'm hoping for is that confidence you get knowing, like, not to give up, that this person was interested enough to verify their number with a phone number that they had in their hand, that you'll be less likely to give up on that lead, and stay persistent with it. And that's what I'd like to see, because I think that would increase, the chance of success and appointments with
Well,
these. But I think
yeah.
it
It,
remains to be seen. What's your take on
dude,
it?
I think it makes for a warmer call. First off, I think you asked the right question. How does this change our behavior? Because what I've noticed over, and you've noticed too, since you worked in lots of awesome places, the tools that we have available to us change us and our behavior. So this is one of them. You're adding something, so it's going to definitely change how we approach it. What we've noticed is that when we get verified information, not only does it affect how we reach out to them, but I'll give you an example of Thursday. I call up, it's a verified one. I call up and I say, "Hi, is this?" I'm trying to remember her name, Morgan. "Hi, is this Morgan?" And she's like, "Is this Tristan and Associates?" I kid you not. I was like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, Morgan, listen, you caught me off guard. Nobody really responds that way when I call them." And then we went to talk for 25 minutes and we got them pre-qualified. And so to me, I'm like, wait a second, this changes on both sides, which is great.
Yeah, and maybe there's that higher degree of expectation. I didn't just enter my phone number as my password. I've verified with this company that this is my phone number, and I've received a text already at that number. And
Yeah.
so
And look,
is that warming them up a little bit? And it kind of gives you a sense of trust on the consumer side.
a
Like
lot.
it feels like this is a legit, business that is asking to verify me before I proceed.
Yeah, man. And with the changes, we haven't even talked. You didn't bring this up, but the laws just changed with the FCC. So, Realtor.com is definitely going to make changes where now all of these portal companies or real estate lead companies aren't able to sell their leads to multiple people. It's just like a one-on-one. And so companies like CINC, which we as agents jump into, we benefit more on this because they're only promoting us. It's like a one-to-one. Well, guess what? We've been doing it like this for years.
Yeah, and
So,
we've seen that crackdown in texting. Like, they very much want to be sure that where you register is the only place you're getting a text from. And
yeah,
so it's making it more imperative that we're generating our own leads and getting that consent to call and text them ourselves.
you got it, man. I love this. This is awesome. See, I always love talking to you, Jeff.
I'm excited. Yeah, we can't wait. 2 weeks.
This is great, man. I appreciate this. And listen, if you're interested in Sync and you're not part of the Sync family, we've put in the link multiple times in here. Jump in. And I've got this daily podcast that you can listen in. It's typically 4 to 6 minutes long every day, all on real estate. It's called the Daily Real Estate DRE. I don't know that I did it on purpose, but there you go. Jeff, thank you for joining us, buddy. I appreciate it.
My
I,
pleasure.
I'm thinking I want to know whenever we talk next, I want to know the progression of everything you're dropping, like all the new tech. Like, where are we now, like 3 months later? Because all the data is going to help us understand what's been working, what's not.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're tracking it all. So yeah, next time we chat, we'll have some answers to those questions we just laid out. So we'll
I
let you
like
know.
that. Thanks, Jeff. Always awesome, buddy.
Thank you, Tristan.
Thank you, everybody.